Ladies and gentlemen, today we delve into a profound topic, a woman who walks alone. At first glance, it appears to describe someone physically isolated, but beneath this image lies something far greater, an archetype of independence, strength, and profound courage. The archetype of independence, as represented by a woman who walks alone, is deeply rooted in the symbolic and psychological structures that govern human life. To truly understand this archetype, we must explore its significance from multiple perspectives: mythological, psychological, and practical. The notion of a solitary figure, especially a woman, standing apart from others and walking her own path, resonates profoundly across time and cultures. It symbolizes not only the strength of the individual, but also humanity's ability to confront chaos, embrace solitude, and create order out of the unknown. From a mythological perspective, the woman who walks alone is akin to a hero embarking on a journey, not unlike the figures we encounter in ancient myths and stories. Throughout history, the hero archetype has often been represented as male, but this does not mean that the qualities of independence, resilience, and self-reliance are exclusive to men. In fact, female heroes have always existed, although they are sometimes less recognized in mainstream narratives. A woman who walks alone carries the same weight of symbolic importance. She represents the courage to step away from the safety of the collective and to face the world as an individual. This departure is not without risk, but it is essential for growth. She ventures into uncharted territory where she must rely on her own instincts, judgment. Psychologically, this archetype reflects the profound process of individuation, a concept central to Carl Jung's understanding of the human psyche. Individuation is the journey towards self-realization, where an individual integrates all aspects of their personality to achieve a complete sense of self. A woman walking alone embodies this process in a particularly striking way. She separates herself, symbolically and sometimes literally, from the collective. This separation is not an act of rebellion or isolation for its own sake, but a necessary step toward understanding who she truly is, independent of societal roles, expectations, and relationships. It is through this solitude that she begins to discern her values, beliefs, and unique identity. However, independence is not merely the absence of dependence. It is an active state of being requiring discipline, courage, and the willingness to bear responsibility. The woman who walks alone demonstrates this vividly. Her independence is not a denial of connection or community, but rather a declaration that she can stand on her own 2 feet, confront her fears, and make decisions that align with her principles. This level of independence demands a high degree of emotional maturity and self-awareness. It requires her to confront the parts of herself that are vulnerable, uncertain, or afraid, and to transform those weaknesses into strengths. This is no easy task, as the process often involves pain, discomfort, and the realization that true growth comes from within. Practically speaking, the archetype of the independent woman has profound implications for society as a whole. When a woman chooses to walk alone, she challenges the norms and expectations that may have sought to define her. She becomes a living example of the potential that lies within every individual, regardless of gender. In doing so, she inspires others to recognize their own capacity for independence and self-reliance. Her journey is not just about personal growth. It is also about paving the way for others to follow. She demonstrates that independence is not a solitary endeavor in the grander scheme, but rather a contribution to the collective. By standing strong as an individual, she strengthens the fabric of society itself. This archetype also speaks to the dynamic tension between chaos and order. A woman who walks alone must contend with the chaotic elements of life, particularly the uncertainty and unpredictability of solitude. Chaos, in this sense, is the unknown. It is the realm of possibilities, both good and bad, that lies beyond the safety of the familiar. To walk alone is to confront this chaos directly, to face the fear and discomfort that comes with stepping outside of one's comfort zone. But in doing so, she also has the opportunity to create order, to bring meaning and structure to her life through her choices and actions. This process of transforming chaos into order is at the heart of what it means to be truly independent. Moreover, the archetype of independence, represented by a woman walking alone, challenges us to reconsider our assumptions about strength and vulnerability. In many traditional narratives, strength is often portrayed as dominance or control. However, the woman who walks alone redefines strength as the ability to endure, to adapt, and to grow in the face of adversity. Her vulnerability, far from being a weakness, becomes a source of power. It is through acknowledging and embracing her vulnerabilities that she gains the resilience to keep moving forward, even when the path is uncertain. The woman who walks alone also embodies the idea of self-respect and self-determination. She is not dependent on the validation or approval of others to define her worth. Instead, she sets her own standards and strives to meet them, even when doing so requires sacrifice or effort. This self-respect allows her to build a life that is meaningful and fulfilling, one that is guided by her own values rather than dictated by external pressures. Ultimately, the archetype of independence, as represented by a woman walking alone, is a powerful reminder of what it means to be human. It speaks to our innate capacity for growth, our ability to face challenges with courage, and our potential to create meaning in our lives. It challenges us to rise above our fears, to embrace our individuality, and to take responsibility for our own journey. By walking alone, she not only discovers who she truly is, but also inspires others to do the same. Courage in solitude is an essential and deeply transformative concept, one that transcends the simple act of being alone. It involves a willingness to step into the unknown, to face one's fears, and to confront the vulnerabilities that often emerge when we are without the comfort of companionship or external validation. The courage to walk alone is not merely a physical act. It is a profound psychological and emotional undertaking that requires resilience, self-awareness, and an unwavering commitment to growth. When a person is surrounded by others, there is a natural tendency to draw strength from the collective. Social connections provide validation, comfort, and a sense of security. However, this reliance on external sources of support, while valuable, can sometimes shield an individual from deeper, more personal truths. Solitude strips away these protective layers and exposes the raw, unfiltered reality of one's inner world. This exposure can be unsettling, even frightening, as it forces a person to confront questions they may have avoided. Who am I, truly? What do I value? What do I fear? It takes courage to sit with these questions, to face the discomfort of not having immediate answers, and to resist the temptation to escape back into the distractions of social interaction or external validation. Courage in solitude is fundamentally about stepping into this discomfort willingly. It is about acknowledging that growth does not come from avoiding challenges, but from engaging with them directly. Solitude creates a unique space where this engagement can occur. Without the noise and influence of others, a person is free to examine their thoughts, emotions, and beliefs with honesty and clarity. This process is not always pleasant. It often involves confronting painful truths, unresolved traumas, and deeply rooted fears. Yet it is through this confrontation that transformation becomes possible. The woman who walks alone exemplifies this courage. She does not shy away from the difficulties of solitude. Instead, she embraces them as opportunities for self-discovery and growth. One of the key challenges of solitude is the encounter with fear. Fear is a natural response to the unknown, and solitude amplifies this sense of uncertainty. When a person walks alone, both literally and metaphorically, they are stepping into a world that is unpredictable and uncontrollable. There are no guarantees, no assurances of safety or success. This uncertainty can be paralyzing, but it can also be liberating. It forces an individual to develop a sense of inner strength and self-reliance. The courage to face fear head-on, to move forward despite the uncertainty, is what separates those who grow in solitude from those who shrink away from it. This process of facing fear and solitude is not about eliminating fear altogether. Fear is an essential part of the human experience, a signal that something important is at stake. The courage to walk alone involves recognizing fear for what it is, a challenge to be met rather than an obstacle to be avoided. It is about learning to coexist with fear, to acknowledge its presence without allowing it to dictate one's actions. This balance requires both emotional strength and mental discipline. It demands a willingness to take risks, to venture into the unknown, and to trust in one's ability to navigate whatever challenges may arise. In addition to fear, solitude often brings with it a sense of vulnerability. When a person is alone, they are exposed not necessarily to others, but to themselves. The distractions and defenses that typically shield a person from their own emotions are stripped away, leaving them face to face with their true selves. This vulnerability can be deeply uncomfortable, as it forces a person to confront aspects of themselves they may prefer to ignore. Yet it is in this state of vulnerability that true strength is found. By embracing their vulnerabilities rather than denying them, an individual can develop a deeper sense of self-awareness and emotional resilience. Courage in solitude also involves a profound act of trust, not in others, but in oneself. To walk alone is to place faith in one's ability to navigate life's challenges without relying on external guidance or approval. This trust is not blind or naive. It is rooted in a realistic understanding of one's strengths and limitations. It is the recognition that, while external support can be valuable, the ultimate responsibility for one's life lies within oneself. This sense of self-trust is both empowering and liberating. It allows an individual to make decisions with confidence, to take risks without fear of failure, and to move forward with a sense of purpose and direction. The courage to walk alone also has a ripple effect, extending beyond the individual and into the wider community. When a person demonstrates the strength to face solitude with grace and determination, they inspire others to do the same. They show that it is possible to confront fear, vulnerability, and uncertainty and emerge stronger for it. This inspiration is particularly important in a world that often prioritizes conformity and external validation over individuality and self-reliance. The woman who walks alone challenges these societal norms by embodying an alternative path, one of courage, independence, and self-discovery. Ultimately, courage in solitude is about more than just surviving isolation. It is about thriving in it. It is about using solitude as a tool for growth, transformation, and self-realization. The woman who walks alone does not see solitude as a burden or a punishment, but as an opportunity, a chance to explore her inner world, to confront her fears, and to develop the strength and resilience needed to navigate life's complexities. Her courage is not defined by the absence of fear or vulnerability, but by her willingness to embrace these experiences and to learn from them. In a world that often equates solitude with loneliness and independence with isolation, the courage to walk alone stands as a powerful reminder of the strength that lies within each individual. It challenges us to rethink our assumptions about solitude, to see it not as something to be feared, but as something to be embraced. It invites us to recognize the transformative potential of stepping into the unknown and to find the strength to walk our own path, even when that path leads us into uncharted territory. Purpose beyond approval is a concept that captures the essence of living a life that is guided by meaning rather than dictated by the need for external validation. It speaks to the deep human yearning for a sense of direction, a reason to act, that transcends the fleeting and often superficial approval of others. A woman who walks alone embodies this idea in a profound way. Her actions, choices, and aspirations are not driven by a desire to conform or to gain the admiration of those around her. Instead, they are rooted in a higher purpose that she has defined for herself. This commitment to purpose reflects an extraordinary level of independence and self-awareness. When a person seeks approval as their primary motivator, they become subject to the whims and judgments of others. Approval, by its very nature, is transient and conditional. It can be granted or withheld, often for reasons that are arbitrary or beyond one's control. To live in pursuit of approval is to place one's sense of worth in the hands of others, to tie one's identity to an ever-shifting external standard. And this dependence on approval can lead to a life of constant comparison, insecurity, and dissatisfaction, as no amount of validation can provide the deep and lasting fulfillment that comes from living a life aligned with one's true values and purpose. A woman who walks alone demonstrates a striking alternative to this approval-seeking mindset. Her path is not determined by the expectations or opinions of others. It is shaped by her own understanding of what is meaningful and important. She is not indifferent to the views of those around her, but she does not allow those views to dictate her choices. This distinction is critical. Purpose beyond approval is not about rejecting connection or community. It is about recognizing that the deepest and most enduring sense of fulfillment comes from within. It is about finding a source of meaning that is independent of external affirmation. Living with purpose beyond approval requires a willingness to confront the discomfort of standing apart from the crowd. When a person acts in accordance with their own principles and values, they may face criticism, misunderstanding, or even rejection. This is particularly true for women who have often been socialized to prioritize the needs and expectations of others over their own. To walk alone in this context is to challenge deeply ingrained cultural norms and to assert one's right to define one's own path. It is an act of courage, a declaration that one's life and choices are not up for negotiation. The pursuit of purpose beyond approval also involves a profound shift in focus from external to internal, from the surface to the depths. Approval is often tied to appearances, to how one is perceived by others. Purpose, by contrast, is tied to substance, to what one truly values and strives to achieve. This shift requires a deep level of introspection and self-knowledge. It involves asking difficult questions. What do I truly care about? What kind of person do I want to be? What legacy do I want to leave behind? These questions cannot be answered by looking outward. They demand a willingness to turn inward, to explore the core of one's being. One of the most liberating aspects of living with purpose beyond approval is the freedom it brings. When a person is no longer bound by the need for validation, they gain the ability to act with authenticity and integrity. They are free to take risks, to pursue goals that may not be understood or appreciated by others, and to make decisions that reflect their true priorities. This freedom is not without its challenges. It requires the strength to bear the weight of criticism and the resilience to persevere in the face of obstacles. But it also opens the door to a life of genuine fulfillment and meaning. The woman who walks alone exemplifies this freedom. Her purpose is not dictated by societal expectations or the opinions of others. It is something she has discovered and defined for herself. This sense of purpose gives her the strength to navigate the uncertainties and difficulties of life with confidence and grace. It allows her to remain grounded and focused. Her actions are not swayed by the shifting tides of public opinion or the fleeting allure of praise. They are guided by a deeper sense of what is right and meaningful. At the heart of purpose beyond approval is a commitment to authenticity. To live authentically is to be true to oneself, to act in a way that is consistent with one's values and beliefs. This authenticity is not about perfection or the absence of doubt. It is about striving to align one's actions with one's ideals, even when it is difficult. The woman who walks alone embodies this authenticity. She does not pretend to have all the answers or to be free from fear or uncertainty, but she is willing to confront these challenges with honesty and determination, guided by a purpose that gives her life direction and meaning. The impact of living with purpose beyond approval extends beyond the individual. When a person acts with authenticity and integrity, they inspire others to do the same. The woman who walks alone serves as a powerful example of what is possible when one prioritizes purpose over approval. Her courage and independence encourage others to reflect on their own values and to consider whether they are living in alignment with their true selves. In this way, her journey becomes not just a personal one, but a source of inspiration and empowerment for others. Ultimately, purpose beyond approval is about living a life that is true to oneself and meaningful in its own right. It is about finding a source of fulfillment that is not dependent on the recognition or validation of others. The woman who walks alone reminds us that this kind of life is possible, that it is worth striving for, and that it is within our reach. She shows us the path to true fulfillment begins with the courage to define our own purpose and to walk our own path, even when that path leads us away from the crowd. Resilience in the face of adversity is one of the most defining qualities of a woman who walks alone. It is a testament to the human capacity to endure, adapt, and ultimately thrive despite the challenges and hardships that life inevitably presents. Resilience is not simply about surviving difficulty. It is about emerging from those experiences stronger, wiser, and more capable. It is the ability to face setbacks, failures, and obstacles with determination and to continue moving forward even when the path is uncertain or fraught with difficulties. Adversity is an unavoidable part of life. It takes many forms: loss, rejection, failure, and uncertainty, to name just a few. For a woman walking her own path, these challenges can feel magnified because she often faces them without the immediate comfort of a support system. Her decision to walk alone sets her apart, making her vulnerable to criticism, misunderstanding, and even hostility. Yet it is precisely in this vulnerability that her resilience is forged. Each setback becomes an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to strengthen her resolve. Resilience begins with acceptance, acknowledging that life is inherently unpredictable and that adversity is not a sign of personal failure but a natural part of the human experience. This acceptance is not passive. It does not mean resigning oneself to suffering. Instead, it is an active process of facing reality as it is and committing to respond to it constructively. A resilient woman does not deny the pain or difficulty of her circumstances, but neither does she allow herself to be defined or defeated by them. She understands that adversity, while challenging, is also an opportunity to discover her inner strength. A critical aspect of resilience is the ability to adapt. Life's challenges often require us to change course, to rethink our plans and expectations, and to find new ways of moving forward. This flexibility is not a sign of weakness, but of wisdom. It reflects an understanding that clinging rigidly to a single plan or perspective can lead to stagnation and a woman who walks alone demonstrates this adaptability by remaining open to new possibilities, even when they arise from difficult or unexpected circumstances. She recognizes that resilience is not about stubbornly pushing through obstacles without reflection, but about learning from those obstacles and finding creative ways to overcome them. Resilience also involves the cultivation of a strong sense of purpose. Purpose provides a reason to endure and a source of motivation to keep going when times are tough. It anchors a person in the face of uncertainty and helps them maintain perspective. For a woman walking alone, purpose is not just a guiding light, it is a source of inner strength that sustains her through adversity. It reminds her that her journey has meaning even when it is difficult, and that her struggles are part of a larger narrative of growth and self-discovery. Another key element of resilience is the ability to manage one's emotions. Adversity often triggers feelings of fear, frustration, sadness, and anger. These emotions are natural and valid, but if left unchecked, they can become overwhelming and paralyzing. Resilience is not about suppressing these emotions or pretending they do not exist. It is about finding healthy ways to process and channel them. A resilient woman learns to acknowledge her emotions without being ruled by them. She develops strategies for coping with stress, whether through mindfulness, reflection, physical activity, or creative expression. This emotional regulation allows her to face challenges with clarity and composure rather than being consumed by negativity. Resilience is also deeply connected to self-belief. A woman who walks alone must have faith in her own abilities, even when others doubt her or when circumstances seem insurmountable. This self-belief is not about arrogance or overconfidence. It is about trusting in one's capacity to learn, to adapt, and to persevere. It is about recognizing that While she may not have all the answers or solutions immediately, she has the strength and resourcefulness to figure things out. This belief in herself is what enables her to take risks, to face uncertainty, and to keep moving forward despite setbacks. Importantly, resilience is not a solitary endeavor. While a woman who walks alone may rely primarily on herself, she also understands the value of seeking support when needed. Resilience does not mean isolating oneself or refusing help. It means knowing when to lean on others and when to stand on one's own. Whether through mentors, friends, or like-minded individuals, a resilient woman builds connections that provide encouragement and perspective. These connections do not diminish her independence. Rather, they enhance her ability to navigate adversity by reminding her that she is not alone in her struggles. Another vital component of resilience is the capacity for hope. Adversity often tests a person's optimism and faith in the future. A resilient woman does not ignore the difficulties she faces, but she also does not lose sight of the possibility for better days ahead. She holds on to hope, not as a naive belief that everything will work out perfectly, but as a recognition that challenges are temporary and that progress is possible. This hope fuels her determination to keep going, even when the road is hard, and to find meaning and opportunity in her struggles. Resilience in the face of adversity is ultimately about transformation. It is about taking the difficulties and hardships of life and using them as a catalyst for growth. A woman who walks alone does not merely endure adversity. She uses it as a stepping stone to become stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. Each challenge she faces becomes a lesson, each setback an opportunity to refine her approach, and each failure a chance to build greater strength. In this way, resilience is not just a quality she possesses, it is a process she actively engages in throughout her journey. The woman who walks alone reminds us that adversity, while challenging, is not an end but a beginning. It is an opportunity to discover the depths of our strength, the breadth of our adaptability, and the resilience that lies within each of us. Her journey shows that resilience is not about avoiding hardship, but about facing it with courage, purpose, and an unwavering belief in the possibility of growth and transformation. The power of authenticity lies in its ability to free individuals from the constraints of pretense, allowing them to live lives that are genuinely their own. It is the profound act of embracing who you truly are, your values, beliefs, imperfections, and unique qualities, without bending to the pressures of societal expectations or the need to conform. For a woman who walks alone, authenticity becomes her guiding principle, shaping her path and giving her strength to face the world with integrity and self-assurance. It is through authenticity that she discovers her power and defines her identity on her terms. Authenticity begins with self-awareness. To be authentic, one must first understand oneself deeply. This involves an honest examination of one's values, desires, and motivations, as well as a willingness to confront one's fears, insecurities, and flaws. Self-awareness is not a destination, but an ongoing process requiring reflection and courage to face aspects of oneself that may be uncomfortable or difficult to accept. The woman who walks alone exemplifies this process by choosing to step away from external distractions and turn inward. Solitude becomes her ally in uncovering her true self, providing her with the clarity and insight needed to live authentically. Living authentically also requires the courage to be vulnerable. To be true to oneself is to risk judgment, criticism, and rejection. Society often rewards conformity and punishes deviation from the norm, creating pressure to present a curated version of oneself that aligns with others' expectations. Yet, in doing so, one sacrifices the essence of individuality and the opportunity to connect with others on a deeper, more meaningful level. Vulnerability, though challenging, is a source of tremendous strength. By embracing her imperfections and being unapologetically herself, the woman who walks alone not only liberates herself from the burden of pretense, but also inspires others to do the same. Authenticity is not a static quality. It is an active, dynamic choice that must be made daily. It requires consistency and integrity, the alignment of one's actions with one's values. This alignment is not always easy, as it often involves making difficult decisions and standing firm in the face of opposition. For a woman walking her own path, this can mean saying no to opportunities that compromise her principles, setting boundaries that protect her well-being, or pursuing goals that others may not understand or support. Each of these choices reinforces her commitment to authenticity and strengthens her sense of self. One of the most profound aspects of authenticity is its capacity to foster genuine connection. Paradoxically, it is by embracing solitude and walking alone that a person often discovers the true nature of connection. When a woman chooses to live authentically, she attracts relationships based on mutual respect and understanding rather than superficial approval or convenience. These connections, though fewer in number, are richer in depth and meaning. They provide support and encouragement without compromising her individuality, allowing her to maintain her independence while fostering a sense of belonging. Authenticity also challenges societal norms and expectations, particularly those placed on women. Throughout history, women have been subjected to rigid roles and stereotypes that dictate how they should behave, what they should prioritize, and who they should be. To live authentically is to reject these constraints and assert one's right to define one's own identity. The woman who walks alone becomes a symbol of this resistance. Her authenticity is an act of defiance, a statement that she will not be confined by others' expectations or limited by traditional narratives. Instead, she carves out her own path, guided by her inner voice and her unique vision. Another essential aspect of authenticity is its role in fostering resilience. When a person is authentic, they draw strength from within rather than relying on external validation. This internal source of strength becomes a foundation that supports them through challenges and adversity. For the woman walking alone, authenticity provides a sense of stability and confidence. Even when the world around her is uncertain, she knows who she is and what she stands for, and this clarity allows her to navigate difficulties with grace and determination. Authenticity becomes a shield against self-doubt and a source of empowerment in moments of vulnerability. Authenticity is also deeply tied to creativity and self-presence. When a person lives authentically, they are free to explore their passions, talents, and ideas without fear of judgment or failure. This freedom unleashes their creative potential and allows them to contribute to the world in unique and meaningful ways. For a woman walking her own path, authenticity is not just about being true to herself. It is about sharing her truth with the world, whether through art, work, relationships, or other forms of expression. Her authenticity becomes a force for inspiration and change. Importantly, authenticity is not about perfection. It is not about having all the answers or being immune to mistakes and setbacks. On the contrary, authenticity embraces the messiness and complexity of the human experience. It is about showing up as you are, with all your flaws and vulnerabilities, and committing to grow and learn along the way. The woman who walks alone understands this and does not strive for an unattainable ideal. Instead, she accepts herself as a work in progress, finding beauty and strength in her imperfections. Ultimately, authenticity is an act of liberation. It frees a person from the need to wear masks, to play roles, or to seek approval from others. It allows them to live in alignment with their true self and to experience life with a sense of depth and richness that is not possible when one is constrained by pretense. The woman who walks alone embodies this liberation. Her authenticity is a source of power, a beacon that lights her path and inspires others to embark on their own journeys of self-discovery. The power of authenticity reminds us that the most meaningful life is one lived in alignment with our true selves. It challenges us to reject the superficial and embrace the genuine, to value substance over appearances, and to prioritize integrity over approval. The woman who walks alone shows us that authenticity is not just a personal choice, but a profound act of courage and leadership. By living authentically, she not only transforms her own life, but also creates a ripple effect, encouraging others to do the same and fostering a world where individuality and truth are celebrated. In conclusion, the woman who walks alone represents a profound symbol of strength, independence, and purpose. Her journey is not an easy one, for it requires courage to embrace solitude, resilience to withstand adversity, authenticity to remain true to herself, and the determination to live a life defined by her own values rather than the expectations of others. She is not driven by the pursuit of approval, nor does she rely on others to validate her worth. Instead, she carves out a path that is uniquely hers, guided by a sense of purpose that transcends fleeting judgments or societal norms. Her story is a reminder that true fulfillment lies in walking a path that aligns with one's own principles and aspirations. It is a call to embrace the discomfort of standing apart, the vulnerability of authenticity, and the challenges of forging a meaningful life. She demonstrates that strength is not found in avoiding hardship, but in confronting it with grace, determination, and a steadfast belief in one's ability to grow and thrive. The woman who walks alone teaches us that purpose, resilience, and authenticity are not merely ideals, but practices that shape a life of depth and meaning. Her journey inspires others to reflect on their own paths, to question where they may be seeking approval rather than pursuing purpose, and to summon the courage to live a life that is true to themselves. Ultimately, her example reminds us that walking alone is not a sign of isolation or weakness, but a powerful affirmation of self-reliance, vision, and the pursuit of a higher calling. Her story invites all of us to take that first step toward living with intention, courage, and integrity.